Hello, hi. I thought I'd hop on here and share a video with y'all about a topic that I'm really actually passionate about and I love talking about, and that's time management. So a girlfriend of mine reached out to me today and was like, hey, do you have any tips for just time management? Like, you're so good at it. You're always bouncing tons and tons of balls in the air and you make it look so seamless. And I'm just wondering how you do it and if you could share some of your strategies. And I'm like, oh yeah, totally. Like, I love talking about time management actually, because it just for me feels formulaic and it feels like 2 + 2 = 4. And so, it's interesting because she made the comment of, when people say they're too busy, it's like, we're all busy. We could all just say we're busy all day long. The reality is you're not very good at managing your time. So please forgive me for whoever I'm saying that to. But the truth is, time management is so key. And I've managed to do a whole heck of a lot of things. And I can tell you, I still have time every single day to make time for the people that matter to me in my life. And that's getting, I'd say 100%, if not, let's just safely say 95% of the things done that I need to get done in a given day. So I thought I'd share my secrets. They're not really that secret. First of all, color code and use a calendar. And I specifically love using an electronic calendar, but then I like to print it every week or two, just because it looks crisper, cleaner that way. I like to hop on my electronic devices and update things and change things. And I absolutely use the recurring appointment function of electronic calendar. So if you don't know how to do that, when you create an event and scroll down, there's often a function for repeat event, and you can customize how often, what day of the week, how things happen, or how often things show up on your calendar. So critical. So here is just a bird's eye view of what my calendar looks like. So you're gonna notice a couple things. There's color coded, there's blocks of time. The blocks of time are different sizes, and those correspond to the amount of time, of course, that the activity is likely going to take. So, and I'm going to build in buffer time for everything and anything, especially if it's a recurring appointment or a meeting that's outside of my control. So for example, every week I have a meeting that ranges from 60 minutes to 90 minutes. So I go ahead and I block off 90 minutes and I don't schedule my first patient until I know that I have enough time to, actually drive there and get started. And so there's always plenty of things I can get done in that little bit of a buffer, few minutes, but it is so much more important to me to know that I'm not going to be behind from the beginning of my day, and I've built in that buffer time. So one is the electronic calendar, making sure it's updated, accurate, making sure you don't accidentally delete one event in your series and then delete the whole series. So I'm very meticulous about making sure those recurring meetings and appointments are in my calendar and protected. Additionally, I color code things. I color code my client appointments. I color code meetings. I color code time with friends and just social stuff. I color code little inspirational quotes into my Sunday morning part of my calendar. And I color code for a number of reasons. Medical appointments, because I want to see diversification. If everything on my calendar were one color, or if it were black and white, I actually have noticed in the past I feel more tension. I feel like it's one big blob of an activity, and it doesn't feel like I've built in fun or just like a shift, right? A mental shift. And yet so much of what I do is so different. I mean, I'm a psychologist in one part of my world. I have a skincare business in the other part of my world, which is really fun and light and social. I've got, just all sorts of supports in my life. I've got amazing friends. I've got my mom. And so all of those are going to bring up different feelings. So I don't want them to meld together as one big blob. So that's why I like to color code things and show that my schedule is always in flux. I recommend always having your calendar in ink, whether you're printing it, whether you're writing it. And why do I do that? It is to show integrity with the things you commit to, not only to yourself, but to the people you're committing to as well, but just as importantly to yourself. So for example, every Friday, I block off time to be in a coffee shop every Friday. Now, every 6 weeks, I also oversee a peer consultation support group with incredible mental health providers in our community, where we come together. And so my hours in the coffee shop that particular day might vary because I'm meeting with my group in the mornings, but I'm still blocking out that, 4-ish hour block of time. Nothing is going to cause me to ever delete that unless it's like an all-day event or something I know in advance. But that time is sacred, and I'm not going to be like, oh, something funner came up, so I'm not going to do that this particular week. Unless, again, I plan for it and I shift that time to a Saturday or something. I don't just do away with it. So the time that you commit to honoring yourself, your own personal objectives, if you have a business, the time you dedicate to your business is just as critical as the time that you give an employer, the time you place with your family and all that, right? Well, maybe not so much family. I feel like family always comes first. But and that's in the case of like if there's really something pressing going on, not just, oh, I just wanted to have a cup of coffee with, you know, my so-and-so and like kick back. That's great. But schedule that time as well, and schedule it separate from the sacred time that you dedicate to the objectives and goals that are important to your life. So use ink, honor the time, and if something really does get in the way, let's say there is an emergency or something comes up, okay, don't just drop it from your calendar, move it. So I will never delete something off my calendar. It's gonna get moved. The only reason it'll get deleted is if somebody else cancels and does not reschedule. So I will almost never, I mean, I really can't think of a time when I have canceled on someone. Really, I almost never cancel on anyone. But then, especially if for some reason I have to, like if there's a competing demand I have no control over, I will reschedule. And that is critical, not only to maintaining integrity with your word, but also to making sure that you're really honoring your commitments and following through on things. So that's another thing that I say. So color code, protect your time, plan for buffers, plan for traffic, driving time, plan for things to go wrong and build in that time. Now, I'm not saying for every 1 hour appointment, build in an hour and a half and buffer your day that way. But I am saying if you're going somewhere for a social event and you're supposed to be at 5:30, plan to get there at 5:15. Plan on that drive time, plan on traffic. I was always taught that if you're not early, you're late. So if I show up early, I just look extra excited to be there. And if I'm on time, I look professional and reliable. So there's really no loss there. So plan for the buffer time, plan for the challenges, think about how long it's going to take you to transition, to pack your bag, put your stuff away, get in the car, pull out, and then drive to where you're going. Because that's not necessarily something that is consistently thought through. I know it seems like it should be like, oh, well, of course I would do that, but it's not necessarily the case for some folks. And then if you have open blocks, so for example, my Fridays at the coffee shop, so I've set aside 3 to 5 hour blocks. Well, I'll actually put notes on there of what I want to accomplish during that time. So I'm not just going to say go to coffee shop. I'm actually going to list what am I going to do at the coffee shop? What am I going to work on? Maybe it's book a trip. Maybe it's work on the visuals or the cover for my book. Whatever it is, be specific and list it out so that you know that you've achieved that measurable goal. And then as I mentioned, having those recurring appointments. And really, truly, I can't stress enough how important it is to see each commitment you put down in ink as a commitment you are to honor. So even if it's pray for 5 minutes a day, and you don't make it, you don't pray for 10 minutes tomorrow. In other words, don't just drop it from your calendar because it didn't happen. And I will almost never put a maybe on my calendar. And if I do, I feel the time pressure to confirm that little puppy. It's a black or white thing for me, yes or no. Obviously, no's don't make it to my calendar, but I am not going to put something on my calendar as a maybe, and I'm not going to commit to a person as a maybe, because maybe basically is saying, sure, if nothing better comes up, or sure, I'm not quite sure that I want to invest my time and energy here, and it just feels yucky. And I know people don't mean it that way. I'm sure it's people wanting to have integrity with their word and not committing, but it doesn't land that way to whoever it is that's wanting the commitment. And so try to avoid maybes, yes or no, make a decision. And if you put in a yes, really think through, how's that going to impact the rest of my day? So for example, there was a meeting I was thinking about going to tonight, and I was just kind of like wrapping up my day, and I'm like, okay, I'll go to that, and then I'll come home and I'll make dinner, and then I'm going to work on my book the rest of the night and incorporate all the edits I've been getting back, which by the way, I have the most amazing friends. Thank you for your incredible feedback already. And I sat there and I was like, you know, I haven't committed to the meeting. Nobody knows I'm going to the meeting. Do I really want to go to the meeting? Or would I rather use that time to go home and just get going and start and kind of feel really accomplished tonight? And so I decided to go that route. And that's okay, because I hadn't written anything down yet. There was nothing in ink. It was all kind of a last minute, spur of the moment thing anyway. And I thought, when it comes to time management, what would really serve me is to feel like I achieved a number of the things on my to-do list tonight, so I can wake up really feeling refreshed and on top of things tomorrow. And so that's what I decided to do. And then my girlfriend left the message on, can you give me some tips for time management? And I thought, heck yeah, I can. I've got an extra hour and a half I wasn't planning on having in my night, so sure, I can pop on and do a 10-minute video. So I hope you get something good out of this video. I hope that these pointers are helpful to you. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'd be more than happy to help, because I find time management to be really fun. I used to really enjoy doing those PSAT analytical tests in high school. I was such a nerd. And it's kind of like that. It's like fitting things into little permutations, like a Tetris game that's moving on paper with your schedule and your life. So who doesn't like Tetris? Mwah! Bye, everybody. Have an amazing day.